Don't remember how to record an episode.
No.
Don't remember who I am.
You're my friend.
You're my friend.
You're my friend.
That's my only identity.
Yeah, rightly so.
Hi, welcome back to the Horny Book Club.
Hello.
I'm Ellen.
And I'm Alice.
And this week, it's the 2024 wrap-up.
Woo! My favourites.
I can't believe it's been a year since we recorded the wrap-up where we talked about Outlander.
Iconic. Truly, just some of the best podcasting we've ever done.
And then she gets in a fist fight with a wolf.
A wolf. Get a clue, Claire. It's the past.
A year since Get a Clue, Claire. It's the past.
I can't believe it.
If you're watching the YouTube video, we've got a guest with us today.
Nelly.
Nelly the cat. She said,
Whoa. She said hello.
She's in a bit of a mood, as she always is.
She always is.
So maybe she'll be gone in a bit.
So if you hear a bit of tenseness in the like
bit of
tension in the voice, is because we're genuinely a bit scared that she might turn around and hit one of us.
Probably me. She's facing me at the moment, and it's making me stressed. She's glaring at me.
She's my cat, but she hates most people, but she really doesn't like Ellen.
Which is crazy because I am by far the person she has seen the most in her life.
Yeah.
She does,
well, apart from me.
Apart from you too. Apart from her parents, she doesn't go outside. And I'm here at least once a week, if not more, for her entire life.
Yeah.
I remember the day they brought her home.
And it was so exciting. You were like, a friend, she's so cute.
And she fucking hates me. She hates me so much. When other people come around, she like runs up to them. She's rubbing on them.
No, she's not.
A bit. I've seen her rub on like Josh and Joe.
Yeah, she's a tart.
Yeah, she is. And the other thing to note, if you're watching the video, we're wearing our matching
jumpers. Woo.
Alice got us for Christmas, talking to the microphone. They say bookworm. Where are they from?
They're from Wordy and Wild.
Excellent. Which
is a small UK business, and they do a book subscription box as well, which is so fucking good.
Is that the one you're getting?
Yeah.
Oh.
If you want a...
It does seem good. She got an hoodie.
I got a fucking hoodie.
Is it basketball themed, or did I make that up?
No, it's not basketball themed. Why would it be basketball themed?
In my head, it's got basketball.
No, it's got like orange like books and flowers and coffee cups and stuff on it.
That makes a lot more sense.
It's orange. Just because it's orange, it's not basketball.
It's like orange basketball.
It'll be crazy.
You love basketball.
I love basketball. Be a crazy thing, book subscription box. I'm going to give all my subscribers a basketball themed hoodie.
The right move.
That was the right move. She's been reading Ryan Shea. The right move. Yeah, Wordy and Wild. Great jumpers. Great book subscription box. You get such good value for money.
Yeah.
It's a little plug for Wordy and Wild.
Those are the things of note.
Yeah. What else? It's the new year. It's 2025.
What else are we plugging? Ins and outs. Let's do some ins and outs.
Let's do some ins and outs. Ins.
Finishing your book journal on time.
Oh my God.
It's awkward,
on
you guys.
time. Like it's a fucking essay.
On time.
It's an assignment.
The deadline for your book journal is the 31st December.
I know, and I missed it. And I didn't get an extension. I know, I just want to be doing my book journal more regularly.
I really was.
Yeah, I was at the beginning of the year, and then everything got crazy.
It went to shit.
But I really enjoy doing it. Yeah, so keeping up to date with book journal is an in.
Going on holiday.
That's an in.
Things that are out. Living in a flat.
Whoa, Ellen's moved house. Woo! Finally.
I don't recommend moving house on the 11th of December. And I'll tell you why. Because December, busy month. I worked out that when we had been in the house for 2 weeks, so 14 days, 7 of those days I'd been away.
Yeah. But it's a lovely house, and your bookshelves are up, and they look delightful.
They do.
Because of me.
So if we ever change location, it's going to look very similar because it'll still be a blue sofa. But that's where we'll be.
What are outs for 2025 then? Reading shit.
You can't promise that because I'm reading Wretched at the moment.
Well, not reading shit. I mean like reading for the sake of finishing a book. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Things that are in DNFing.
Things that are in DNFing.
And things that are out putting pressure on yourself to read. Although I would say last year I wasn't really doing that. I was just naturally reading loads of books. But being like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
No. You've just got to enjoy yourself.
Just got to enjoy yourself. I completely agree.
Enjoy your life.
When I was like realising that my reading year wasn't going how I wanted it to, I was like, well, you've got to fucking read. You fucking sort your fucking shit out. Blah, blah, blah. Like, then I was like, well, I can't read now because
I've myself out.
I've set myself homework, essentially.
You've got a deadline.
Got a deadline.
And the deadline's the 31st of December.
In protecting my peace. But genuinely.
But genuinely, yeah, like for you, I agree.
But genuinely, chilling the fuck out.
Yeah. Just calming down. I feel like
just
last year was crazy.
Last year was crazy.
But actually, we're here to talk about 2024. We're here to talk about our year of reading. We've spoken about quite a lot of our reading this year already because we've been doing the Q wrap-ups.
Yeah.
As you guys know. So this probably isn't going to be quite as long as last year.
Thank God,
last
to be
year
honest.
was 2 episodes. Before we carry on, don't forget that you can follow us on Instagram at the H Book Club. Follow us on TikTok at HBC Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at HBC Podcast and turn the bell on to be notified when we post. Like all of our videos and comment beneath, please. Comment beneath. Please. You can email us hornybookclub@gmail.com. Thoughts, feelings, wants, wishes, desires, New Year's resolutions, things you hate, things you like.
2025 ins and outs.
Your deepest dreads. I want to know them all. Thank
Yes.
you. Any gossip, actually. Any gossip about anyone.
Would love that.
Not bothered. Love to know it. One person has emailed us ever.
It was the best day.
It was delightful. What was her name? Hold on.
Henny?
Henny. It was amazing. It was really nice.
It was such a nice email.
Henny, we love you if you're listening. I hope you are. I hope you've not given up on us now that you've emailed us.
Devastating.
Crazy. Love you, Henny. Send us emails. We love you.
Message us on Instagram.
Yeah.
We love chatting to you. Shout out Dea.
Oh, Dea. My queen.
My queen. My number one gal. I love her.
Dea, I don't understand what we did to be blessed with such a nice fan.
Honestly.
She's so nice.
I love Dea.
All of you could be a bit more like Dea, if I'm honest.
My 2025 New Year's resolution is to be more like Dea.
Be more Dea.
Be more Dea.
What would Dea do? I hope we're pronouncing your name right. That's it. Yeah. Follow us on stuff. Oh, you can give us money on Ko-fi if you wish.
If you wish.
If you wish. Back to the episode. Okay, so we're going to start off as we always do, or for the last 2 years, as always, with the Storygraph stats.
Woo!
If you don't know what Storygraph is an excellent alternative to Goodreads. It's not owned by Amazon, and it's like a family-run business.
Yeah.
And
And it gives you fucking loads of stats.
it doesn't look like a piece of shit, is what I would say.
It doesn't look like it was designed on a potato.
Yeah.
And you can rate things 2.5.
You can do 0.25 and 0.75. What I want, Storygraph, if you're listening, is the ability to just rate whatever I want.
Yeah.
I need like 0.326.
Yeah.
I just need it.
Yeah.
I need it.
I agree.
Okay. How many books did you read this year?
I read 60 books this year and I'm so happy about it.
I'm glad you're happy about it. Because there was a time when 60 books you would have been like, I hate myself.
Well, yeah, because famously, as you know, because I didn't fucking shut up about it in the last year's wrap up.
Alice has just listened to last year's wrap up, by the way.
Yeah,
she's referencing it.
It's a really good episode. I read 109 books last year, but because I was on bed rest,
As we
fucking know.
Yeah.
So I was holding myself to this standard of being like, well, you can read 109 books in a year.
Yeah.
But
you can do if you lie down every day and don't work.
Yeah.
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 That's not what you did this year.
No, it's not what I did this
You
year.
did loads of shit this year.
I did so much shit. I had 2 new roles, 2 big projects I worked on.
Promotions up the wazoo. I was like, am I going to say that?
That's crazy.
I've said it now.
Also, it wasn't technically a promotion. It was more of a sidestep, but whatever.
You
Side
take it.
steps across the wazoo.
I'm sidestepping all around the wazoo.
So I was never, ever going to read 100 books this
No.
year. Never. That was one of the things that was like, I was putting pressure on myself because I was like, well, you read 100 books last year. And I was like, well, yeah. Then in the last quarter, I was like, fuck it. Do what I like, when I like.
Fuck it, we ball.
Fuck it, we ball. And just was like, yeah, I'm fucking loving reading again.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the Kindle with my little...
Alice has got the classic TikTok Kindle set up.
I've got
guys.
the classic TikTok Kindle set up.
The
We talk
clamp.
about it earlier in one of the Q2.
Oh,
We
do
talk
we?
about, me getting one of them and I got it. And it's changed the game.
Yeah.
I like to be very cozy when I read. I like to be arms
Arms in.
because that's how I sleep. Autism who? Couldn't be me.
I'm like, you shouldn't be lying in the same way when you read as when you sleep, because you'll go to sleep.
Everyone always laughs at me because when I mime sleeping, I'm like, oh, I'm going to sleep. I do the vampire
Yeah,
arms
like you're in a
cross
coffin.
like I'm in a coffin. But that's genuinely how I like to spend my time, with my arms across my body. And so when I read, I like doing that as well. And actually removing, even if the Kindle is stood up against, removing the arm to tap the page is a real distraction.
And it's a lot because you're reading quickly.
Yeah, and it really takes me out of it, actually, I realised. Yeah. And the clicker just does allow me to get fully lost in a book.
I must say, being able to have your hands under the duvet and still turn the page. Yeah, it's basically the dream, isn't it? It is basically the dream.
It's just delightful. So that's all I did for the second half of December, and I think I read 8 books in December, and they were all in the last 2 weeks. I feel like I've gone into the new year with like a nice, like, you know, reading's not stressful, reading's fun, reading's what I like to do, and I'm just having a good time again.
That's nice.
And it's nice. So I'm really happy with 60, because at one point I was like, I'm not getting to 50.
At one point during the year, September maybe, I had read more books than Alice had, and it was a great moment for everyone, except it didn't last. Because I only read... If I had read the average amount of books per month that I've been reading this year, which is about 5, in December, we would have been tied.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it.
No.
So, yeah, I've read 55.
Which is more than last year.
Since records began, i.e. 4 years ago, it's the most books I've read in a year. I am pleased. I must say, I was looking through my stats. It's a decent amount of romance. It's more romance than anything else, which does add to the stats, as we know. But... it's also a lot of other good stuff. I felt like it was a year of reading things that I've always said I'm going to read but never do.
Yeah.
Like Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
Yeah. Like Babel. You've been saying about Babel for ages.
Like Babel. Like Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Like, you know, my 900-page Hermione fic.
You've always
I'm
said,
always saying I'm going to read that.
Always said you're going to read that.
Small things like these.
Classic, yeah.
So I feel like it was a good year from that perspective of actually like not kind of knocking things off the like the long-term mental TBR that I have of things I'm like, you should read that, you should read that, you should read that. I feel like the backlog is a bit cleared actually, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
I actually think a good year of reading, although if you look back on the cues, you say in like every cue I'm having a bad year. You've brought it back with Q4 though, I think.
I think I've brought it back. I think I'm still not like...
That was the best year ever.
No, definitely not.
The best year you've ever had was 2023.
No, the best year I've ever had... No, 2021.
Really?
Yeah, with like My Dark Vanessa, Betty, Pachinko.
Was that fucking 2021? Jesus.
How many pages did you read in 2024?
23,668.
So you read more pages than me.
Did I?
Yeah, I read 22,853.
Slave for me. I read loads of really long books.
You did, yeah. And I read quite a few really short books. What was the first book that you read?
Charmed Life by Diana Wynne Jones.
Of course.
The folio edition.
Mine was Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young.
Oh,
great way to start the year. It was so good.
It's all downhill from there.
It really, really, truly is. What about the last book you read?
Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo.
A slay. Mine was The Inmate by Frida McFadden.
Which I must say we discussed in length on New Year's Eve.
Excellent. It was excellent because whilst I don't care about my reading goal. I thought I was going to finish on 58. And then I just saw The Teacher by Frida McFadden come up and was like, oh, okay, I'll read one more. I've got time. Blah, blah, blah. I very much like, I have to finish a book on New Year's Eve and start a book on New Year's Day. I can't be crossing over. It's not, I hate it.
I hate it.
And then I read The Teacher incredibly quickly and I was like, I reckon I could actually, when you're on 59, you're like, if I could get to 60, I'm going to get to 60. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just do another Frida. And read The Inmate. And I finished it. It's a book that I finished and we discussed it at length on New Year's Eve because the girlies were saying it's the best Frida McFadden. You're wrong.
The girlies are crazy. What was your month with the most number of books?
January and December, I read 8 books in both.
Oh, I did mine in July and August. I did 7 in each. What was your highest genre? I already said this. Mine's romance.
Mine's also romance.
Romance, then contemporary, then fantasy.
Romance, then contemporary, then LGBTQIA+. The average length of the books you read was 369 pages, and it took you around 6 days to finish each book.
The average length of the books you read was 430 pages, and it took you around 5 days to finish each book.
Crazy.
Least time spent was Piglet, which I read in 1 day.
Slay. My least time spent was Punk 57, which I read in 1 day. I read in one sitting.
You?
Yeah, I sat here and read the whole thing.
My most time spent, Crooked Kingdom, 25 days.
Most time spent, Prisoner's Throne, 199 days.
That happens. That does happen.
That does happen. Because I started the audiobook and then didn't finish the audiobook and then picked it back up in December. Average rating for 2024 was 3.63 stars.
3.75.
You've done it again, the same as last year.
I've done it again.
She's done it again.
She's rating things highly.
Some months were better than others. June was my highest average rating with 4.33 stars.
August, 4.32.
March was my least favourite with 2.58.
November wasn't your favourite month with an average rating of 2.94.
April was most pages read with 3,801 pages.
Oh, that's a lot. July, 3,032 pages.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then A Court of Mist and Fury was my most shelved, and Indigo Star by Hilary McKay was my least shelved.
How many users is Hilary McKay?
799.
Mine, A Wild and True Relation, 194.
What? Well, you're so not like other girls.
No one reads what I read.
Wow.
I will put the, as last year, put the summaries on Instagram so everyone can have a little look.
Quick disclaimer before we jump into all of the cues and our discussions. Just want to say, guys, if we talk about a book that we really loved and you didn't love, or we talk about a book that we really hated and you really loved, it's all chill. It's all good vibes here.
Are people being horrible to you? I'm like, where's this coming
I'm
from?
scared about one of the books I'm going to talk about mainly.
Oh, I see.
I've just seen a lot of stuff online recently around discussion of certain books and like the kind of hate that people get. And whilst I'm not scared that we're going to get loads of hate, I'm not just like, let's remember that we're all just reading to have a good fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's a comedy podcast.
It's a comedy podcast, and not that I think that any of the people who actually listen to us are like, oh, what the fuck? But some of the people who comment on TikTok every now and then have been a bit like...
that one bit of hate we got about Ice Planet Barbarians.
that
I've never forgotten it.
I'm never going to let it go. I'm never going to drop it. With that being said, what was your worst book of the year? Excluding November 9 and Fangirl Down, which were podcast reads.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it was ACOTAR.
It's ACOTAR?
Yeah.
Wow.
The first ACOTAR, I mean, we've spoken about it at length, but I rated the first ACOTAR, or actual ACOTAR, 2 stars. I was so scared. Whenever I'm terrified. I was so scared that all of them were going to be shit.
Yeah.
And it was going to be really bad. And I just don't understand why it's so boring and why it's so successful. I understand why the rest of them are, obviously, apart from A Court of Frost and Starlight. That's my second worst book of the year. Shite. Pointless. Boring. I hate Christmas specials of stuff. That's like one of my things. I hate stuff like that. But I was like, just put some of this context into it. Because Silver Flames, we eventually are going to do an episode about it. Loved it.
Yeah.
Really, really, like, genuinely enjoyable. Way too long. So
ridiculous.
Much, so many bits of her walking up and down the stairs. But yeah, it's ACOTAR because it's just so boring compared to the rest of them. Even the second one, you are literally like, bang, Rich, she's being a spy. What's going on? Blah, blah, all this shit. And then you're like, oh no, she's spying the third one.
Yeah, she's getting married in the second one.
Oh, she's getting married and then he kidnaps her, quote, quote. You know, in the second one, you see her fall in love with Rhysand. It's great. The first one, she's just in a fucking bikini for half the book. And you're just like, what are we doing? Anyway, you've all listened to that episode, so it's
if you
fine.
want to know her in-depth thoughts.
Okay, what was your worst book of the year, apart from previously discussed
Fangirl Down November 9. My worst books are Psycho Shifters by Jasmine Mass.
Of course.
Genuinely one of the most bewildering books I've ever read in my entire life.
Been a great time for me.
A great time. So funny. Got so many laughs out of it.
Who's the
excellent jokes? Darren the beta compared to Jax and Asher and whatever, and also the fact that one of the alphas like fucks up his side quest because he's a voyeur.
I think about that all
and
the time.
He gets
you being like, I'm a voyeur.
He's a voyeur, so he can't like execute his plan that he's been trying to do for the whole book because he sees 2 people having sex and is instantly transfixed. That book to me though is just like a marvel in terms of like, you look at the power of marketing almost, and the power of TikTok, and like, again, fair play to Jasmine Mass. All right, seriously, good for you, hun. I'm impressed with your ability to market things, but that's all I'm impressed with, unfortunately, because that book was fucking great. This is the craziest thing I've ever read in my life. Just like, okay. You're just like, right. Okay. The makeover montage. I was like, we're in a fantasy world. Like
Darren's there.
And like Sadie the saber-toothed tiger. I I honestly couldn't, like, I just was
So funny.
bewildered the whole time reading it. I was just like, right, okay. And then the second one is God of Fury by Rena Kent.
Yeah.
Gods of Fury, whatever it's called. And this is the one where I'm like, right, guys, please don't come for me, because people are obsessed with this book.
Isn't this one of the fist fighting in the forest ones?
This is one of the fist fighting in the forest ones. This is the longer one, where it's set in the UK as well, and clearly she's never stepped foot
New
here.
Brighton.
Brighton Island.
Brighton.
Brighton Island. But I also have just been thinking about it a lot recently because...
A lot.
Well, I have, because I was just like, when I was thinking about this wrap up, and I was just like, I really feel the need just to talk about this book in the sense that it makes For the Fans look like it should win the Pulitzer. And For the Fans was my worst book of last year. But it just then made me think about like this whole genre of male romance written by women for women, and kind of like the quite in my opinion, quite intense damage that not the books, that the fan base of like, this is the best book I've ever read. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so like blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, think about what this like perpetrates, what this like puts out into the world in terms of like the stereotypes, what it makes people think of queer people and queer relationship. It's fine to enjoy those sorts of things. Listen, whatever you like, okay? Whatever, turns you on. Fucking that was horrible. Sorry.
Ew.
Like, that's like chill. Like, I'm not judging anyone for being a woman reading a male romance book.
Yeah.
But I am like, you can't ignore the fact that it's kind of got the same icky feeling of the fact that there's a lot of lesbian porn made for male viewership. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's the age-old question of like, are you not allowed, but should you be able to, or whatever, write about things that you will personally never experience? It's like that book. Do you know what I'm going to say?
American Dirt.
Yes.
I was literally thinking this, and I was like, well, it's very weird to compare American Dirt to Gods of Fury. But it's the same thing of like the...
And if you don't know about American Dirt, it's about someone trying to cross the Mexican border, is that correct?
Into America illegally.
But it was written by a white woman, and sort of it was kind of one of those things where everyone thought it was really good, and then everyone realised it was written by, or I guess lots of people already knew, but the general public realised it was written by a white woman, and then basically she got cancelled because everyone was like, that's not your experience to discuss. And her argument was kind of like, well, but didn't it get the story out there, and didn't more people realise about that experience? And you're kind of like,
But the thing is with that, like, I read American Dirt last year actually, and I when I read it, I didn't know she was white. I really enjoyed it, and then I think like a month later saw something about that. You like read about it, I wasn't like researching it, but I read a couple of articles about it and read the fucking Wikipedia page about it, and you're like, oh, okay.
It makes you really reconsider the experience.
It fully does. And like, I'm not going to, and this is the thing that I mean with American Dirt, a lot of the criticism is that this story is being told in a way that makes this experience and makes this story palatable for white people. And I'm not going to be like, no, you're fucking wrong. Actually, you as someone who has experienced something like this, you're wrong to tell me, a white person, that.
No, absolutely.
And I think it's like the same kind of thing of like, I've seen particularly one, but I know there's multiple creators online, particularly gay male creators online, who have spoken out, like still giving the book like 3 stars, but saying this is like harmful stereotyping about gay relationships. Yeah. And why do all of these women write books where the queer experience is deeply rooted in pain and in trauma? And it's like, because that makes it palatable for a straight or not queer audience.
Like, the only reason you can be gay is because you've like suffered so much,
experienced in deep trauma.
Yeah.
And that,
that's
like,
so interesting.
that there's going to be not that any of them explicitly say this in the book, but a male character and a female
Oh, like one of them's the man, one of them's
One
the
of
man,
them's one of them's the man,
quote,
one of
unquote.
them's the woman. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
And like that, actually, that's, as we know, not
Obviously not how it works.
Not how it fucking works.
Yeah.
And people have fucking kicked off, and like this one creator I've seen me getting like death threats, like all of this stuff, because he's saying that he wasn't, you know, a fan of this book and that it felt harmful to him, and that he's like, these kind of stories rooted in pain and stereotypes. Why would that be like enjoyable for him? Why would it? And he said very clearly, like, I'm not trying to be like, don't enjoy it, you know, but you have to be able to look at it through.
You have to, well, it's that thing which
you
like,
have to critically think.
You have to be able to critically think. It's like that whole thing on TikTok, whenever it was, a couple of months ago, where people were like, there was a certain group of like book talkers being like, why is everyone saying that reading is political? Reading's not political. Reading's just like fun. And then all these people being like, the only way that you think that reading is not political is if you're a person who's never needed anything to be political. And I'm like, you know, full stop. Like, I'm like, that is just what it is, isn't it? It's like, if you were like, I'm a woman and I'm straight and I'm white, I'm never going to experience a gay male relationship, obviously. This is like really fun for me. Look at them. They're like suffering. They're fighting each other in the woods, lol. Which I'm like, I do find that to be lol, not because I'm like, I love it when gay men fight each other, more than I'm like, it is such a fucking farce.
Yeah.
Then you would be able to just read that without critically thinking about it at all. It's like, this is such a fun rom. And I understand why people get their backs up when people, if you enjoy something and then you see a video of someone saying, this is why you shouldn't have enjoyed this. It's easy to be like, well, don't, you know, I'm not like, I don't hate gay people. I'm not offensive. I'm just trying to enjoy my life. And it's like, yeah, but if that person has had that experience, read that book, told you it's not realistic and actually it's harmful to them, it's easy enough for you to just be like, oh, I didn't realise that. Thanks for letting me know. Maybe I'll think twice before I read another Gods of Fury or whatever the fuck they're called.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. Like, it just really made me like think, and it really made me be like, what am I looking for when I every now and then pick up one of these books?
Yeah,
because
I'm like, and I don't mean this in like an attacking way, but I'm like, you chose to read that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Because, and as you said previously in a different podcast, I think, because you had seen a review of it on TikTok.
Yeah.
Where you were like, there's this one particular scene that sounds really good. So I'm like, what is it about that made you want to read it? That
was actually, the one particular scene was Brutal Titans, which was the other
good
fighting
point.
one.
No, good point.
But what I would say about that is that has a lot of like the same things of like they're two men and they're fighting in the woods and they are like, you know, getting boners and all of that stuff. But like a lot, from what I remember, a lot of their problems it's not a good book, right? Okay, just in general. But like a lot of their problems like stemmed from the fact that they were in the mafia, you know, and that, you know,
mafia, but also hockey players.
Yeah, and also rival hockey players, and like one of the coaches was really homophobic. But like there was none of this like, I'm the man, you're the woman in the relationship. No, like deep-rooted trauma.
I'm tortured about the fact that I'm gay.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
they were
blah.
just like generally like crazy horny boys, you know, and like,
aren't we all?
And that's fun. But it's like this. It is for me. It's the thing of like the stereotyping and like the rooted in trauma, and like it's almost like a bit like trauma porny. And I'm like, why is everyone getting like horny over the fact that someone's been assaulted or someone's got deep rooted issues with their sexuality?
Yeah, I mean, we question this basically almost every podcast, is when people review these books, well, you genuinely want to be like, what? Okay, you tell me what it is about this that makes you think that this is a 5-star book. And again, I'm not like, because I know more about you than books, and I've read this and I've read that, more than I'm just like, what am I missing here? I think nothing, but you must think that I am missing something if I rate something 1 star and you rate something 5 star. I saw a TikTok where someone was like, my best book of the year was Credence by Penelope Douglas. And I was like, bro,
but we need like more from a book to enjoy it. Like we need it to be like, it can't just be pure vibes. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Five Brothers is pure vibes. It's fucking not. But Punk 57, for example, we talked about how we did really like the vibes in that.
Yeah, that's true.
But we aren't going to rate that higher because of so many other aspects of it that maybe other people don't need to rate a book highly.
And then maybe don't care about.
Yeah.
The problem I have is I'm like, it's not romance. You know, in Five Brothers, and we say in the episode, Macon is so depressed in the middle of it.
Oh my God, how is, yeah.
In a way that I'm like, it's not romantic or horny.
No.
It's just, you're just like, and I say in that episode, it's like legitimately triggering. Like I was legitimately reading it like, fucking hell.
Yeah. Well, same with points of Gods of Fury, same with For the Fans. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, it's really, you know, funny. Like at points there were really funny bits in it. And you saw someone saying about one of the bits that's really funny is when the relationship comes out, is that the twins, one of them, the depressed one is a twin, and he's called Brandon, and his twin is called Landon, first of all. And that's your top book of the year. That's your top book of the year.
Rhyming names.
Twins called Brandon and Landon. Unacceptable. Anyway, and he's like, when Landon finds out, and Landon fucking hates the guy, and he's like, yeah, don't tell me you let him top you. Brand's like, ooh, and it's like, ha 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 ha, and I'm like, no, that's not funny. You know what I mean? Like, can we not do this whole thing of like, because a man could be fully straight and his girlfriend could peg him and he'd still be straight and he'd still be a man, and like, let's just not go down this fucking road. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, and like that's like the lightest kind of.
That's the lightest bit.
Yeah.
His brother basically being homophobic.
Yeah. I don't know. It just made me feel really, really like icky. And I have read some male romances that aren't erotica or aren't of this caliber and have really enjoyed them and have found them horny. I would like to say I'm not fucking judging any women for finding that horny.
No.
But, you know, you're just like, just tap in, just like lock in and just have a think about, you know, if someone's saying that this is offensive or this is damaging in any way to a marginalized group of people anyway, and that genre, the male romance genre, is 90% female authors. And why? I think for everyone, reading is a form of like escapism, isn't it? And so if you're not going to escape by like reading a literary fiction or a Brandon Sanderson or anything like that, then like don't do it. And like, you can just want things to just be 100% light and fun, but then I'm like, but light and fun isn't this deep suicidal depression. Do you know what I mean?
And like, I guess that's what it is. It's the associating reading things like, I don't know, well, reading these books that are supposed to be like, I just read my Kindle Unlimited books and blah blah blah, but they're about people's like deep-seated trauma.
Like the comparison between Psycho Shifters and Gods of Fury is like, you can't compare, because Psycho Shifters is the like most surface level, like, oh my god, off I go, Sadie the Saber-Tooth Tiger, I'm a voyeur, all of that bullshit, makeover montage, blah blah blah. Like, I understand why someone could really enjoy that, because it's like watching the fucking Kissing Booth or something. Yeah. But like these really dark, depressing ones, I'm like, and you're like, I'm reading 12 of them a month. I'm like, I think what? we've said this in Five Brothers, which is out next, but also I've seen a couple of people online say of like, there's a difference between dark romance and douchebag romance, A, and depression romance, B. If what you're saying is enjoyable is someone's deep-rooted pain, that means that they can't be who they are. Yeah. Authentically, that's enjoyable to you. That's when I'm like, you've got to have a peek at yourself. And then you're like, we're back to the thing of being like, and you're able to find that enjoyable because it's an experience that will never affect you. Full circle. Smashed it. Oh my god, thank you for yeah. You've actually summed it up really well there. Yeah. So the problem isn't that it's a romance book or that it's gay. The problem is that it's a bit offensive. Basically. And that's why it was the worst book of the year. And I was like, God, that was really boring. Let's move away from being depressed. What was your most surprising book of the year? Loads of stuff, actually. So, Fourth Wing, obviously. Surprised how much I liked it. Yeah. Really. And then surprised how into fantasy I got after that. Yeah. I was surprised as well at how much I liked Iron Flame, because everyone fucking hated it. I'm so sick of people telling me that they hated Iron Flame. I'm literally like, guys, shut up. Guys. I agree that the middle was a bit boring. I agree that and the end is great. Listen, everyone agrees that Violet's dumb. No one's disputing that Violet being like, why didn't you tell me?
is annoying.
Everyone knows that, but it still was great. Zayden was there, guys.
Zayden was there.
And
I have a feeling Violet's probably going to fucking redeem herself in book 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, how much I enjoyed the book's subsequent to ACOTAR. And Six of Crows.
Yeah.
Really just like incredibly surprised that a YA book from 2016, I was debating putting it in my top 10. I was probably recency biased, but like sometimes when I go to sleep, I like listen to people read stories to go to sleep. And I listened to someone read the first like 3 chapters of this. And I was like, fucking hell, this is good. I've like never considered that I could read Six of Crows and enjoy it. Obviously, I'm having my fantasy year. 2024, the year of fantasy. And then, I just absolutely smashed through it. I love them. Legitimately, and I said this to Alice, I think Six of Crows is the best enemies to lovers I've ever read.
Yeah.
Matthias and Nina.
It's up there. It's not Jude and Carden.
No, that's a great point.
Opinion.
No, that's a great point, actually.
But it's up there. It's definitely up there.
You get more payoff with Matthias and Nina.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like the first time they see each other and she wakes him up and he's like, Nina, and I was like... And they're like in the prison, they're breaking him out of prison. And I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I fucking,
It's really good. And obviously I read, so it's by Leigh Bardugo, if you don't know. And obviously I read The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo earlier this year.
Yeah.
And that was another surprise.
Yeah.
I'd always been put off by Leigh Bardugo because someone, I reckon you, told me that Shadow and Bone was really shit.
Shadow and Bone was so boring to me.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like Ninth House, famously.
Oh, that's what it is. It's Ninth House.
I like Ninth House is one of my like worst books ever for some reason. I just in my mind it sticks out as something that I like. I know why I hated it, but I'm still like, oh yeah, fucking Ninth House. 4 years ago. But you could try it.
Well, this is why I'm like, maybe now I should read Shadow and Bone because
maybe.
I'm like, I've read 3 books by Leigh Bardugo and loved them all.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, maybe she can do no wrong in my eyes. Maybe she can do no wrong. I recommend it. If you're looking for like, it's a fucking like romp. It's kind of weird because they are like, quote unquote, hardened criminals, but they're also all 17.
Yeah.
It is really weird. Like the guy who is the main one, Kaz, is 17. And he's like, I've had some really hard trauma in my life. But the trauma happened when he was like 12. And you're like, God.
And you get it of like they have to grow up fast because of all the trauma. But also it does sometimes when you remember they're 17 and not 24, you're like, okay.
Like, I'm like, I really feel like they all could have been in their early 20s.
Yeah,
and it would have
yeah.
been fine.
They could have been 21 and it would have,
It's because it's YA.
Yeah.
It's like it's for teenagers.
I'm like, I do think we need to accept that something can be about 21-year-olds and be YA.
I agree. All you have to do is they're not allowed to fuck.
They're not allowed to fuck. And you're not allowed to talk about boners.
Yeah, and they can be 21 and that's fine. And that is like a thing that would happen. Because the implication in Six of Crows is that some of them are doing it.
Whoa.
So I'm like, you know that they're doing it anyway. So
they're doing it.
So yeah, that is kind of funny because you are like, there's occasional bits where, because they're dealing with adults, adult criminals all the time, and the adult criminals will be like, well, this gang of fucking kids, is going to do blah blah blah, and you're like, yeah,
they are actually. They're pretty good at it too. Yeah.
Weirdly, this is the best gang in the whole of Ketterdam. You can't believe it.
My most surprising, Check and Mate, I think is one of my most surprising.
Great point. I agree,
because I've read Love Hypothesis, Love on the Brain,
You've
Love
read
Theoretically.
all of them, haven't you?
Yeah.
Apart from Not in Love,
which is going to be on my
the best one
2025 TBR. And I like them, but they've always, apart from Love on the Brain, which is much more of a romp in my opinion than the others, but they always take me a while. I'm never like gagged to read them. I'm never like, they're never unput downable.
Yeah.
But Check and Mate is so fun and such a good time and so like sweet and silly that I just was really surprised that I enjoyed it so much. And then the other one,
what are you
fucking Cinnamon Bun Bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
And The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. Because last year,
surprised that they're horny.
Surprised that they were enjoyable. Because last year I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, and it is the most average 2.5 star book I've ever read in my life. Like it just is straight down the middle, nothing bad particularly about it, nothing offensive about it. It's just so forgettable and so boring and so average. I did still read Pumpkin Spice Cafe very quickly last year, so when I was in a bit of a slump I saw that Cinnamon Bun Bookstore was on Kindle for 99p and I was like, here we go, I can just get that out, whip that one out in a day. I reckon I read in about 3 hours. It was crazy, by the way. I was like, that was quick. And it's so easy, but it was just way more memorable, way more fun. The romance was a lot like, it felt a lot more like there was really sweet, like there's like a little, almost like a scavenger hunt thing, clues and shit like that happening. And it was just really, really sweet and horny. And then horny. And then Christmas Tree Farm was less good, but still better than Pumpkin Spice Cafe and still very enjoyable. And I'm like, I cannot wait for the next two to come out. So I'm just like really surprised that happened, because I'm reading Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I would not have guessed that that I would enjoy them that much, and that I would be like waiting for the next ones to come out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a good answer.
And what's your most disappointing book of the year?
You're not gonna like it.
What?
It's A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now,
I'm just going to leave the room for this bit. Ellen can just monologue about it.
There's a couple of other ones. I spoke about this, I think it was possibly Q1, The List.
Oh, yeah.
That was super disappointing, unfortunately. And Learning to Think, I've spoken about both of those. Disappointing, and Saha, disappointing. But if we're, again, recency bias. But I read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I shall tell you when, finished it on the 23rd of November. Obviously, last year I read The Hunger Games, and
you loved them.
Loved them, really enjoyable. Couldn't believe I'd never read them before, blah, 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 really into it. Great times. You kept saying to me, you've got to read it. I was like, yeah, great.
I wanted you to read it more so we could watch the film together.
Yeah, which I still really want to watch the film.
Yeah, it's great.
But I rated it 3.75. But by no means do I think this is a bad book. I think that's similar to what I rated the other ones.
Yeah.
I just really was confused about what was going on, if I'm honest with you. Because, so if you don't know, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is about not the first Hunger Games, the 10th Hunger Games.
The 10th Hunger Games. It's President Snow's origin story.
Old Coriolanus. About how the 10th Hunger Games is the first Hunger Games where they have the mentors.
Yeah, and where it's like televised, where like no one's watching the Hunger Games before because it's just depressing.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's make it into a spectacle.
Yeah.
So that's when it becomes more of the games as we know them.
And all of that bit, I was like, great, this is really interesting. I actually love a prequel. I really wanted to, you don't learn that much about Snow in the original books, really. He's just like a bad guy. It's interesting to see his motivations, blah, blah, blah. The problem I had with it is the pacing of it is really weird. So in the first three Hunger Games, the first one is basically like, oh, she's going to go into the Hunger Games. Oh, she's in the Hunger Games. Oh, the end, she wins the Hunger Games, right? Sorry, spoiler. It's been 20 years. The second one is like, oh, God, what's happening? Oh, God, okay, we're doing another Hunger Games. They're putting me back in the Hunger Games. Yeah. Oh, at the end, we've come out of the Hunger Games. The third one is all just like fighting, right? This one, I was like, okay, so he's going to basically be like, we're prepping for the Hunger Games. Oh, I've met Lucy Gray, who's my girl that I'm mentoring. Oh, she's going to win the Hunger Games. That'll be the end. But instead, the end of the Hunger Games is like 2/3 of the way through the book.
Yeah.
And then the third part is like, or the last third, is sort of really weird because
it's him grappling with his moral compass.
No, and I do get that. But I was kind of like, this feels like a different book.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And the end, basically at the end, sorry, I am going to do spoilers, so you can just skip ahead like 5 minutes, it'll be fine. It's basically him and Lucy Gray fall in love. He then gets like caught cheating so that she can win the Hunger Games. She wins the Hunger Games. She's let out, but she gets sent back to District 12. He then gets sent to District 12 as a peacekeeper, basically as his punishment. So she's in District 12, he's in District 12. They're like, maybe this will be it. He's like, maybe I can be happy as like a normal, a regular guy. She's like, we're going to escape. He's like, great, let's escape. Then he's kind of like, actually, I'm being called back to the capital.
And I love the capital.
I bloody love the capital.
I'm a capital boy at heart.
Oh, yeah.
He's a Cosmo girl.
And then the end is basically, you don't know if she's dead or not. So she's like, I'm still going to go. And he's kind of like, oh, but he doesn't really say anything. Because and then she runs away. But then it's like he's shooting into the grass.
Yeah, because he's mad and he betrayed her in certain ways, didn't he? And betrayed other people.
Yeah.
She knows what he did. And so he sees that as a threat as well, I think, as why he's,
But I'm like, does she know? Because how does she know?
I can't remember. It's been over a year that I've read it, and I can remember. I remember that there's like a whole bit, because it's the bit where she's like, around the time when she's like, look at this, it's Katniss, and you're like, that's Katniss Everdeen, and it's like a flower or whatever, and talking about those sorts of things that she pieces things together. He lies to her, then and there about something. I can't really remember what.
I just didn't think it was very clear, and I understand that
it's a prequel, so it can't.
It's kind of my problem, but like I didn't really like that you didn't know if she was she was just gone, basically.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and I shot into the grass and I thought, maybe I've killed her, maybe I haven't. And the next day I went back to the capital and the woman was like, oh, you didn't think you were going to be in the Peacekeepers forever, did you? That was just like your summer punishment. Welcome back, Carolina Snow. You're going to be the president.
Mr. President. Welcome back, Mr. President.
And I was just felt like it was a weird place to end it. A little bit of a cop-out in terms of she was kind of like, how am I going to end this between the two of them? Because he's obviously got to go back to the... I would have preferred it if he had just killed her. I think that would have been more effective, in my opinion, rather than being like, she's gone. Maybe she's dead in the grass. Maybe she ran away. Who knows? I think it would have been way more effective if he had literally just murdered her and then been like, that's it. And then obviously he sees Katniss and he's like, fucking hell.
Yeah, and
A girl from District 12, is
Katniss
it?
sings the songs and all of that,
And she's
yeah.
like, well. Yeah, that's what it was. I felt like the end was a bit of a cop-out. And also I wanted more. And I know she's doing another one. But like...
I'm so excited for Sunrise on the Reaping.
I wanted a bit more at the end of the years.
I actually
after.
think it needed to be longer, which is a crazy thing to say because it's 450 pages. But it needed to be longer because I agree that I think actually her Hunger Games should have ended at the halfway point and there should have been more on the end.
I do think it's really well written, and all of the stuff about the sort of origin of the capital and how about he's like, yeah, we're actually like incredibly poor. You know, the first bit is him being like, what am I going to do? I've got to get a shirt, and then his cousin Tigris and like all that stuff.
And I love all of like the Easter eggs of to where you are now as well, with especially with like Tigris and stuff, and like the, you know, it's obviously the classic from the Hunger Games, war, terrible war, blah blah blah, and it's interesting to actually see the aftermath of that war, terrible war, and see how, like you said, how it impacts the capital and stuff. But it's not as good as the Hunger Games trilogy.
I just was disappointed because I felt like it was going to blow me away and it didn't.
Yeah,
basically.
that's fair.
Is what I'm here to say.
Kind of the same as why my most disappointing is my most disappointing, which is the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver.
Yeah.
Because I fucking loved Chestnut Springs, like inject it into my veins. I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. And for Rose Hill, particularly Wild Love, but both of them just to be so like
meh.
Ugh. They're 3 stars, whatever, 3.5 I think Wild Eyes is, or whatever, but it's like they're not 3.5 in a way that some of the 3.5s are good 3.5s. They're bad 3.5s because Elsie Silver's funny. Elsie Silver writes quick, enjoyable books, but it wasn't like it was smack down the middle average. It was like, you know, there's bits of it that are actively bringing it down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather, and in Chestnut Springs, there are things that are either keeping it high or bringing it up there. And Rose Hill, you're just like, all the time. You're like, why? Why is this now happening? Why have you decided to do this now?
They're a combination.
Why have you forgotten how to pace a book, Elsie?
They're terribly paced. That's the main problem. But they're a combination of really cliche but also completely bizarre.
Yeah.
That's the problem, where you're like, none of this is good, because I hate things that are cliche, but I also hate things where you're like, what the fuck are you on about?
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a middle area of like interesting and original, but also not like so off the wall that I'm like, what? She's swimming in pain.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 2 full episodes about the first 2 books of that series that you can listen to if you want to know our extended thoughts. And extended they are.
They are extended.
They are extended, but I do agree on that.
Yeah.
Massively.
They're just highly disappointing in comparison to how good of a time I had with Elsie last year.
Next question, please, Your Honour.
Who was your most read author of 2024?
It's Sarah J. Maas, I believe.
Oh, crazy.
Not that interesting. Sorry, Sarah. 5, Sarah J. Maas. 3, Becca Max.
Classic.
3, Leigh Bardugo. Guys, listen, actually, I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about... We've spoken about Becca Mack at length this year.
But not on the podcast.
We've mentioned it.
We've mentioned her, I think.
Basically, playing for keeps. It's great. It's good. The thing that happened, though, is I read number 1. I read number 2. I then proceeded to DNF number 3.
At like 70%.
It was a crazy time for me. And then I bought number 4, a physical copy, because I saw it in Sainsbury's. And I was like, this is exciting. Didn't read it for 6 months. Read it at the end of last year, and read it really highly. Like, the 4th one is the best one by far.
That's
by
crazy.
far. If you've read like Icebreaker, or if you've read the Mile High series, Windy City. Who do I think I am?
Who do you think you are?
If you've read Windy City and you're like feeling if there's a gap in the market for you, read Playing for Keeps. It's ice hockey again. It's the same shit.
It's nothing new.
It's the same old shit. I think are they in Canada?
Yeah.
They must be.
They must be.
The first book is 2 people, and then the second book, she's the sister of the guy from the first one and one of the guys from the team. The third one, he's a guy from the team. He's had bad luck in love. The 4th one, he's the bad boy of the team, but he eventually turns out to be the good guy. It's great stuff. The reason I DNF number 3 is because these are some of the most like quote unquote emotional romance books I've ever read. Like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of these people talking about each other and being like, and I've never felt so blah blah and blah, and she gives me blah blah and he makes me blah blah and blah and blah, for pages and pages and pages
and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
like these books are so fucking long. Like I remember on the Kindle,
Alice has read just the first one. Is that right?
No, I've read the first 2.
Oh yeah,
I've read the first 2, and I'll try the third, and I will carry on because I love to finish a series.
I don't know if she's doing any more.
She is. There's a 5th. Yeah. But I turn off the page thing on the Kindle and the percentage thing, so I can't. So I'm not constantly being like, I've gone off to another percent. I've gone off another percent. But
it like psychs you out of it, doesn't it? I always find that.
But I love updating on Storygraph what percentage I'm at. So I turn it back on when I'm done. And I remember reading the second one and then like being like, okay, I'm just going to see how far into it I am actually. Being like, I'm only 44% in. I've read 300 pages. You're literally like, what is going on? Like, it's crazy. And I'm like, I could be so much further into the book if we didn't have pages and pages of how they make me feel. And and I'm not joking when I say it's not like, and then something else happens that changes the way that they are made to feel.
No.
It's just kind of reiterated that he does something else nice. He makes her dinner again, and she's like, page-long description of my heart. And you're like, kill me.
They're monologuing. They are monologuing. And it is...
Internal monologues.
Internal monologues. And it is strange because... And I think, I think this is like a specific type of romance book where I'm like, the Windy City is not really like that. Windy City is a bit more... And the Playing for Keeps, they are funny, but the Windy City Liz Tom Ford, Liz, she's funny. They're a bit more funny. They're little bit more lighthearted. I mean, the fourth one's not that lighthearted, but like they're more just kind of like Isaiah and Kennedy are more like just having conversations between the two of them about how they like each other. Yeah. Right. The Playing for Keeps, it is really like I'm mulling it over. Yeah. I'm really mulling over how I feel about him and how he makes me feel and what he does to me and what I do for him and how I've got this trauma and this problem and that problem, and he solves it in these numerous ways. I'm just going to bullet point them for you because it'll be quicker. And the third one is this guy from the team, can't remember his name. Adam from the team, and he meets this girl who's a single mum, and she's like sharing custody with her ex-boyfriend, and he's basically a prick, and he like, it's really sad. He like leaves the baby just like kind of alone in the house one time. It's horrible, really grim. The way they are literally like, I have never met anyone before in my life who was more like an angel to me and more like blah, blah. And the stuff where she's like, and he cares for my son so much and blah, blah, and like all this shit. And I just got to the point where I was like, I can't really do this. Like, I was like, can you guys enjoy your fucking life? Like, they're just walking about the forest all the time, just being like, and I feel like this and I feel like this. And you are just like that's a particularly sentimental one to the point where I was like, and it's not fun. The rest of the gang, it's very much like it's the gang, it's the whole gang, it's the team, and then all the girlfriends of the team. Great
and it's
stuff.
Fun, and it's
Love
like,
it.
It's very much like Icebreaker in that respect.
The guy who's the captain of the team, who there isn't a book about, his wife is crazy, and
I think they're who the 5th book is about. I don't think they're breaking up, but I think it's like they're drifting or something, and they've got to get back. I think, I'm not sure.
Ooh,
Emmett and Cara.
Yeah,
I think it's about them. Yeah,
crazy. Well, there we are, guys. But you know, that it's kind of like they all sit by the side of they sit at the plastic glass and they like bang on it and they're like, that's my guy, and then they're like, I gave him a blowjob, woo, like it's like that. You are like girls please. Just nice. Everyone's a gang, everyone's in the gang, but in the third one, very little gang, because she
isn't in the gang.
He's not yet involved in the gang because he doesn't meet her. He like randomly meets her out on a dog walk or something. But then the fourth one,
the gang's back together.
She is the photographer of the team, and I was like, I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. What book is that?
Nothing Like the Movies.
Yeah, and I read that this year as well. And I was like, so she knows them all. No, what's the one where they're she's the trainer? It's Kennedy and Isaiah. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. Where it's like she's already involved in the team. And she's like, I'm not going to fuck you. And he's like, yeah, you are. And then she's like, oh, okay, maybe I will. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's all good stuff. What was
they just did it. I can't remember.
Oh, most read authors.
Oh, yeah.
That's
they just
why.
didn't
and it
have...
would have been 4 Becca Max if not, I read 75%
it's
of one of them.
3.75 Becca Max.
I think I rated them all 3.75 as well.
I just they didn't have crack in them for me. They were way too long.
They are incredibly long.
And again, as I say, anytime we talk about books being too long, I've read 4 Lucy Score books, okay?
And binding
and the bindings. I know about long romance books, okay? The Binding 13 books are way too long, but like
it's on Bible paper if that means anything to you.
And but the Lucy Score ones, you're like hee 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 the whole time. But because they're just like, I just kept thinking with the Becca Mac ones, I'm like, I don't want to be in your head, because I'm like, and this is coming from someone with ADHD and deep anxiety issues.
Yeah,
I'm like, you need to quiet your mind, like, because when you like,
that's such a funny thing to say.
When you like lock into the fact that like they are just, it's just thoughts, it's just internal thoughts, monologue, and you're like, you can't imagine this, but you almost end up I almost end up doing this sometimes. You just imagine them like just sat on their sofa, just like staring into space, like just thinking,
having all these thoughts,
and you're like, God, it's painful actually.
Yeah, but they are enjoyable. That being said, they are enjoyable. Yeah. They are long. They'll take up a bit of your time.
They're about 100 pages too long.
Yeah. Well, they're all 600 pages.
Yeah,
is that right?
It's fucking ridiculous.
And I will be reading the 5th one. That's my most read authors. Most read authors. What is yours?
2 authors I read 3 books by. So I read 3 books by Abby Jimenez and 3 books by Frida McFadden. And and Abby Jimenez, I really enjoy. I read Just for the Summer first, which is her like newest release.
I am going to read it.
All of her books are just like fun romances, but they are, in my opinion, in between like an Elsie Silver and an Emily Henry in terms of genre.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you're not there for the smut. You're not there for the cowboy face fucking you. Absolutely not. Thank God. But it's not quite, thank God. It's not quite at the literary fiction end of that Emily Henry's, I would say.
Yeah.
What I really like about Abby Jimenez is that she puts these like more serious issues into books. Like there's normally like a mental health problem, family trauma, grief, something like that, difficult parent relationships. Something serious is always going on in the background with these characters, but it's not like, and then I met you and you fixed me, like blah, blah, blah. So I read, Yours Truly, Part of Your World, and Just for the Summer, which is the Part of Your World series. I think in all of them, when it comes to the head where you would have the miscommunication trope, is that normally one or both of them go, I need to step back actually, and like goes away. One of them goes away for like 6 months to work on herself because she's had like a bit of a breakdown essentially. And then they come back and then they reconcile and they work through that together, rather than being like, babe, I don't care if you have panic attacks 7 times a day. I'll fucking, you don't need therapy.
That's fine.
You've got me. Yeah. And you're like, no.
I'll talk you through them every single time.
No, that's not how it works actually in real life. So I really like that, because you get kind of the character development of recognizing that there's a problem, working through the problem, all of that, which is good stuff. But then you don't have it's then not like brushed under the carpet of like, we can solve this in one day after we've had this massive fight where you've acted irrationally because of your problems, which we all do. But it's then not like, cool, let's get married, like it's like they actually work through some stuff together. So I really, really like that aspect of it. What I don't like, I've spoken about this to Ellen quite a lot this year, because I've been like, what is it about this that I really don't like about Abby Jimenez's writing? And it's not like a game changer, it's not a deal breaker for me in any way, shape or form, is that the characters like talk to you. Like it's like I'm sat there having a conversation with the character. It doesn't feel loads of internal monologue. It feels like I'm sat there and the character is telling me a story, where it'd be very much like, da-da-da-da-da, says Jacob, that made me feel sad, or this makes me feel like, it really feels like they're like, keep like come on then Alice, keep you in the loop, like sort of thing, like. And I don't like that. I don't like to be addressed. I'm not here.
You don't like to be addressed.
I'm not here. I'm not involved in any way, shape or form. And so I actually started Yours Truly last year, and got like 100 pages in and didn't finish it. And I think it's because of that.
Yeah.
But Yours Truly is my least favourite out of the ones I read this year.
Yeah.
Also because Yours Truly is fake dating in it. And it is like what I hate about fake dating. When fake dating's done well, heavenly. Heavenly. Like some of the best romance books we've ever read have been fake dating.
Absolutely.
They are so fucking good. But when they are not done well, it's painful to read. It's like actually like it feels like you're fucking pulling teeth of like when it's just fucking always I love her but she'll never love me because of X, Y, because this is fake. I'm outside a door, I've heard him have an argument, he must love them, he could never love me but I love him so much. Change POV, I love her so much but she'll never love him, and you're like, oh my, I literally was like, I'm gonna scream.
Well, it's
like,
not fake dating then, is it? It's like they're just in love.
They're just in love and like living together, but like, you know, like it was crazy. Like that really pissed me off. But then I also was crying like 20 pages later. So like she's good. I was
crying.
I will read more of Abby Jimenez's stuff. I just didn't like the way she included fake dating. And then Frida McFadden, the woman that she is. I read 3 Frida McFadden books, 1 in January, 2 in December. I've already touched on the fact that
bookended the year.
I've bookended the year with Frida McFadden, and what a way to bookend the year, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're all fucking crazy. I spoke about Never Lie in the Q1 wrap up because I was really surprised because I hated The Housemaid.
Yeah.
I really didn't like The Housemaid when I read it last year.
You've read so many of her books.
I've read 4. It's not that many.
Crazy.
And Never Lie was really, really fun. I really enjoyed Never Lie.
So the one where they're in the house.
Yeah.
And then there's like the
psychiatrist.
tapes.
Yes. You remember.
I do.
And it's just like really fun. Like they're just, her thrillers aren't like psychological crime, horror, anything. It's just like, no, we're reading a thriller. That's all I'm here for. And it's like watching a Netflix film is what it feels like. Never Lie was really fun. The teacher, I was kind of put off by it because everyone was like, it's just like, it makes you feel really icky. It makes you feel really grim. And it does, because it is about a teacher nonce, essentially.
About noncing.
It's about noncing. Classic. And it was like, this is B-Tech My Dark Vanessa. She's read My Dark Vanessa 110%. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. Like, no, it wasn't fun. That's definitely not what it was. But it was really like...
really fun.
It was really fun. No, it was really like, kept you kind of guessing.
Yeah. Kept
you kind of like on your toes. You weren't really sure what was going to happen next, all of that sort of thing. Great twist in the final page. Great twist. And then The Inmate, everyone's like, this is Frida's best work. It's fucking not. It's so shit. I can't even describe to you. The Inmate The Inmate, if it's one of those things of like, if you have read a thriller before, I'm like, you should know what's going to happen in this by the time you're a third of the way in. Yeah. To me, it was glaringly obvious what was going to happen, and I was correct. You were correct. Obviously. But there's always a secondary twist in a Frida McFadden book. And the one in The Teacher, I was like, that's sick. I love that. I thought it was really like clever. The one in fucking The Inmate, I was like, right. You're like, oh, sure, okay, whatever. I saw this thing online that made me laugh so much because I had to Google the end of it to be like, have I got that? Have I read that right? Yeah. And I read this review and I was just crying because it was so like spot on, because basically, if you know me, I can always predict what's going to happen in like particularly like mystery TV shows and films and books. I'm pretty good at guessing what's going to happen because obviously there's formulas that are followed, but also I have excellent pattern recognition skills. Yeah. And so if I've seen a pattern more than once, I'm like, that's a pattern, and I can just kind of work it out. And it used to really piss off my mum that I could always impress her and piss her off that I could, tell who the murderer in Broadchurch was by episode 3 or whatever. The only things I've not been able to do that in, TV show wise, was Riverdale. Wow, yeah. And sometimes in Frida McFadden books, I can't predict normally the secondary twist. I was reading this thing and it was like, and if you can't predict the twist and normally you can, it's because Frida McFadden has her characters like lie to you, so that like the twists literally come out of nowhere, and not in like an unreliable narrator way. Just there's like no hints, no kind of pattern to pick up on, because she'll just be in the last page, be like da 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 ha da, like, and you're like, oh, like, oh my god, that's crazy. But she has the characters like omit information, lie about certain things to you when they're narrating the story to you, so that you don't you can't predict it. And yeah, it makes it crazy and it makes it funny, but it makes it not well written.
But in some ways I'm like, is she a genius? Is she doing the ultimate unreliable narrator? Or is she just like, no, he killed them. Lol. And you're like, did he? And she's like, yeah,
no, he did that.
Yeah,
that's fine, yeah. And you're like,
okay,
yeah.
I just have to believe you.
The one in the inmate, like the secondary reveal in the inmate, I was like, okay. You're literally just like, right, sure. That one I wasn't even like, that's correct. Like, because I can get over the fact that maybe the character has lied to me at points, or you've like, you know, you're using different fucking names or whatever it is, like to throw me off the scent. But if it's like, oh my god, that's crazy, like but the inmate, I was just like, right. You're just like,
sure.
That's come from nowhere, and also it's boring.
You've made
okay,
that up.
cool.
No worries.
But Freedom McFadden is great for if you need to read a book in a day and it's just like fun and silly and you're like just gonna want to keep reading. I just read them, you just want to keep reading.
Listen, she got you to 60 books and we can never thank her enough for that.
Thank you, Frida.
But yeah, when you described the plot to me, I was literally like,
so what was your longest book of the year?
So unfortunately it's A Court of Silver Flames.
Crazy.
I didn't think that was going to be the case, but do you know why?
Was the Hermione not longer?
It's because on Storygraph is like, this isn't a book.
Rude.
Really rude. So really it is the Hermione fic, but actual physically published book.
No, that's what we're going for.
And that's what you want. It's A Court of Silver Flames.
Which we can't really talk about.
Yeah, we will do an episode on it. It just might not be till like the end of next year. I mean, Alice has planned the entire of next year and it doesn't include any Sarah J. Maas.
We will sub it in. I forgot about that. We were doing Sarah J. Maas.
We've got 3 to do.
We're not doing Frost and Starlight. I'm sorry, we're just not. Like, sorry guys, we're not doing a full episode on
So
Frost
we've got
Starlight.
2 to do. The thing is, I'm going to reread them. I'm going to start doing my memory games.
The Court of Silver Flames is great, but it is too long.
But it was silly. I was reading it and I was like, this is silly. But also I was kind of like, oh, unfortunately it's actually like quite empowering.
Yeah?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, you know, all the bits about when they're doing the fighting and she's like got the woman from the library and the woman from the village and they're like, and then they all become friends.
Yeah, the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, it's nice.
It is nice.
I was like, this is really nice.
My longest was Saving Six by Chloe Walsh, of course. Same as last year. Chloe Walsh was my longest last year. Chloe Walsh is my longest this year. Chloe Walsh will be my longest next year because I've got fucking Redeeming Six, which is 900 pages long.
I can see it from here and it's legitimately like this thick.
On Bible thin pages. It's horrific. I'm waiting for it to go on sale on the Kindle because I can't do it in physical form.
You'll rip all the pages out. I don't
need to talk about Saving Six.
I was going to be like, I actually don't want to hear
I don't want to hear about Saving Six.
I know, I do, but I have already heard all about it, but also I'm just like, oh.
It's in the Q2 wrap up.
If you're desperate
to hear about it. It follows Joey, who's the main character's brother from the first one.
Joey.
And if you listened last year, you know I fucking loved Joey in the first 2 books, loved him so much, my sweet baby boy. Who's the protagonist in this book? Because that's not the Joey I know and love. And not because of
the amount of times you have said that to me this year. He's not the same person. I don't know him.
And listen, it's not because of the drugs, before any of you say that. I'm not complaining about the... No, it's not. It's nothing to do with that. He was on drugs in the first 2 books. But he's just not like the same person. And it's a different group of boys. This is what pisses me off the most about it. It's a completely different group of boys because Joey goes to a different school. He doesn't go to Tottenham. He goes to a different school. But they all talk exactly the same fucking way. And it's not like, well, this is how teenage boys speak. I'm like, no, you've copied and pasted. They've got the same fucking, like they have the exact same conversations, and it pisses me off so much. And also, why is the book so long? Why have you led me to believe in the first 2 books that Aoife and Joey have been together since year 7? They've not. I read 400 pages of the first 5 years of school. They don't get together. And again, fucking spoiler alert, but at the end of... I'm just going to say it, actually. I'm going to spoil it, okay? I am. So if you don't want to know about some of the books Boys of Tommen subplot, okay? Fucking skip. At the end of whatever it's called, Keeping 13, the second one, Aoife is pregnant.
Yeah.
She's 17 years old and she's pregnant and Joey has to go to rehab, yeah? And then as we know, one of our biggest qualms is that with Saving Six, you go back. We see... You go back 7 years and we see it. You go back and we see it all again from a different point of view. Aoife and Joey don't get together, and I'm for so long, and I'm working out the timeline in my head, and I'm like, she's pregnant in 6 months' time. How is she going to be pregnant in 6 months' time? I know it only takes one time, but like, how is that what's happening? To the point that I'm meant to be like, yeah, have the baby. Because at the end of Keeping 13, I was like, have the baby. Because I thought they'd been together consistently
since year 7.
Year 7.
No.
And I know that would make for a boring book, but not having them get together till like minutes before she's pregnant is crazy, in my opinion. So it really pissed me off because, first of all, that's not Joey. Second of all, it's
by the way, not you being like, I'm not going to talk about it.
It's lazy. I don't care. It's lazy to go back.
It's the worst.
I hate it. Thirdly, why does it take so long to get together, and not in a fun, slow burny way? In like a, can we fucking hurry this up?
They're not even really talking to each other. They're just doing separate stuff.
No, they're in food tech. She's fallen in the sink. Classic.
That's a classic.
That's a classic. I do love Eva though. She's a great character. Anyway.
Oh, God.
What was your shortest book of the year?
Small Things Like These.
Claire Keegan.
And I have to say, I wouldn't have put it in my most disappointing of the year, but I was a smidge let down by it. And I don't really know why. I rated it 4.75. I didn't even rate it 5 stars. I don't know what it is. I think I just don't really like short stories / novellas. But I was sort of like, oh, okay, that's what everyone's been talking about this whole time. Interesting. But like, it is good. I don't know what it was. It just didn't.
You don't get massive payoff from Claire Keegan books in terms of like a really like satisfying like.
No, I'm not sure if that's what it was, or if I was just kind of like, maybe I thought that her writing style would blow me away a little bit more.
For me, the reason why Claire Keegan blows me away, spoiler alert, my shortest book of the year is also a Claire Keegan, which is the same as last year. Chloe Walsh and Claire Keegan. It'll be the same next year, I'm sure.
The 2 C's.
What impresses me about her writing, it's not blowing me away as I'm reading it, but you're more just like, it's so impressive that you can tell such a story in so concisely. Yeah. Like, it's impressive because she's, in my opinion, the best novella / short story writer to exist.
Yeah. And that's why I rated it 4.75. It just didn't quite hit the like 5-star obsession for me, but possibly it doesn't need to.
No. I read So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan, which is my short.
It's like 80 pages.
Yeah, it's really, really short. Which is basically just following a man becoming engaged to a woman, essentially. And it's probably my least favourite out of the 3, but still incredible and still amazing, and just such good quotes in it.
I think I'd like to read a few more short books this year.
Brutal Titans by Evie Olsen is only like 200 pages long.
Great, thank you. That's what I meant. I just think I did way too many really long books in 2024, and I just think it really just... Sometimes it's really dragging you down when you're like, this is taking me a long time.
It can really drain you. Well, it's like I read the first 100 pages of Redeeming 6 or whatever the next one's called, and was like, I'm not even 10% in. I can't do this. I'm exhausted. I've got to put it down.
I've had to put it down.
Guilty pleasure of the year.
Better than the movies and nothing like the movies.
Yeah. Great books.
You guys. Now, this is another surprise for me. Well, maybe not a surprise, but better than the movies, I think you had always kind of spoken about and been like, it's really good.
Yeah.
And then it like went a bit viral on TikTok, maybe.
Oh, but it's been viral on TikTok for years.
Yeah.
It's one of probably the biggest YA romance on TikTok.
And as we know, I'm very suspicious of things that go viral on TikTok because I've been burned before. But I was like, I'll give it a go. Also, I was like, it is YA, so I might be like, blech. It's just so great. Like, it's just so cute. And you just really like them and you really root for them. And then the sequel came out. We had basically, when we were talking about it, we kind of had no idea there was going to be a sequel. And then we were like, oh my God, there's a sequel.
And we were counting down the days until the sequel came out.
And in the sequel, what are they called?
Liz and Wes.
Liz and Wes have broken up. Because, sorry, spoiler, at the end of the first one, they do get together. In the beginning of the second one, they're broken up. And you're like, what the fuck has happened? And I would say that Nothing Like the Movies is quite a bit darker than the first one. It's a lot more mature, It's a lot more mature. Like, some quite traumatic stuff has happened to both of them that has sort of like almost caused the separation. Basically, he's like, I've got to win her back. Yeah. And boy does he. Boy does he. And the way that he does it, I was like, I'm obsessed with him. If you were going to ask me, he's my book boyfriend of the year. I was going to ask you, and that's crazy, because my book boyfriend is Isaiah Rhodes. How is yours not Isaiah Rhodes? Oh, I forgot about him. Shit. Yeah. No. Isaiah Rhodes is from Play Along, obviously.
and he's
I thought you were saying that to me. I was like, I know.
he's our king. We were obsessed with him. So I'm surprised that you said Wes.
I do love Isaiah, but I think IRL, who do I actually want to try and win me back, is Wes.
Interesting.
I just love him, and he's doing his baseball. And I mean, I know Isaiah is also doing baseball.
Isaiah's also doing baseball.
Everyone's doing baseball.
It's the year of baseball.
It's the year of baseball. Better Than the Movies and Nothing Like the Movies, I highly recommend.
So fun, yeah.
Because Better Than the Movies, you get like the sort of high school vibes, and then Nothing Like the Movies, you're getting college vibes. She's actually in the second year of college.
Third, I think.
By the time you like catch up with them. So it's kind of, it's not like if you read Loveless, it's not like Nervous Freshness type thing. It's more like settled into college
she's
routine.
established, yeah.
Like, and there's like this really interesting thing of him being like, I just don't know who you are anymore. And her being like, that's just actually really not my problem.
Yeah.
And if you want to be with me, you can be with like the new, this person who I am now, but you keep thinking of me as the person who I was in high school, and I'm not that person anymore. And he's like, oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, I actually really enjoyed Nothing Like the Movies.
It's a really good sequel.
And I think a lot of people didn't, because they were like, she's changed so much. She's not the same. I'm like, that's the point.
And actually, because I liked her way more.
You do grow up. The between your final year of school and your third year of uni, you are a completely different person. And I think Lynn did that really well.
And I think in the first book, she's quite like a caricature.
Yeah.
You know, she's got her obsessions with films, and she dresses in a particular way and all this kind of stuff. In Nothing Like the Movies, she's actually like a lot more like an actual person.
Yeah. I also think in second chance romances, sometimes when you find out the reason they broke up originally, you're like, what? That's why you broke up? That's stupid. But actually, like, you're like, fair enough.
And it's really like painful, because
really
you can imagine it happening to you.
Yeah. It's horrific.
Like being dumped when you're like 18, 19, you are like, oh. And it's really sad, and it all feels very like reasonable and legitimate as to why these things would have happened. I do think he's my book for the year. I do love Isaiah, but I have to say the blowjob.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, fair. He's still my book boyfriend of the year.
No, and I completely accept that, and he's my secondary. But if something were to happen to me and Wes,
you would go for his teammate, Isaiah.
I'd move on down the road.
My guilty pleasure was The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicerelli, I want to say is how you pronounce her last name.
Let's talk about it.
I read it in December. I read it very recently. It is like a massive, on TikTok at the moment, fantasy book, young adult fantasy. Are there problems with it? Yes. Is it the best written thing in the world? Absolutely fucking not.
Do you read it on the Kindle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the vibe of, so basically it's about a witch and a witch hunter. Yeah. And
that's great stuff.
In a world where like it's illegal to be a witch now for the last couple of years. And she is like
just like in real life.
Just like in real life. And she is pretending to be this like kind of ditzy socialite, you know, girl about town, to cover up the fact that she's actually like saving and rescuing witches from the castle prisons and sending them abroad or whatever.
Yeah.
And he is like the head witch hunter. He's 20. Crazy.
Of course.
He's
20, she's 18.
They've both got their own plans going on. She's called the Crimson Moth is her like alias, and he's trying to catch her, and she's trying to save this specific witch, which is proving very difficult. Both of their like second in commands essentially like you know you need to get close to them for various reasons, or you know we need to find out more about them. So they're both like feigning interest in each other to get the information they need from the other one, but then they're like, oh fuck, shit,
it's real,
you're actually really hot and really nice and really fun, fuck, shit. They don't know what the other one knows, so he's not 100% certain she's the Crimson Moth. So there's loads of like, it couldn't possibly be her because of X, Y, and Z, and you know, like, and same thing for him of like, he couldn't possibly know X, Y, and Z, or he couldn't possibly do this, so So that's all really fun. It's not like she's the Crimson Moth, I'm lying the whole time. Like neither of them have the full picture, obviously. And also the way that witches, this is the tiniest spoiler, but it's not proper. In this world, when witches cast spells, they have to draw blood to use those spells. So a lot of them, before witches became illegal, it was like you were like showing your pride by like having these really intricate, like beautiful kind of scars all over you, like silver scars.
Yeah.
So now that it's illegal, you have to hide the scars.
Yeah.
And so basically at one point, they're like, his second in command is kind of like, you've got to see her naked to look for those scars. And you're like, whoa.
So I had this, I realised...
Because he's like, I want to see her naked for real.
For different reasons.
Not for the scars, sort of thing. And so then it's like, and then when they're like, when romantic stuff happens and you're literally like, is this acting? Is this not? Like, it's just really, and there's actually a really good like plot twist at the end. I was like, and the second one comes out in February and I am excited.
I think I'm going to read it. Now that you've given it this review, I'm like, it's not going in being like literary masterpiece, but being like, I'm having a fun, good romp.
Yeah, and it's like proper...
And I love YA fantasy, as we know. So.
Yeah, and it is like kind of proper enemies to lovers. Because they're like literally on two opposing sides of a rebellion.
Yeah.
And it's just a really good time. Like, I just was like, this is just really fun. I genuinely think best smut of the year, if you take out the blowjob, is Play Along. Him putting his hands behind his head.
You're right. Oh, no. The best smut of the year is The Pairing. How dare you say
How dare I say otherwise? The best smut of the year is The Pairing by Casey McKiston.
Horniest book of the year.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. That was like, I was legitimately like, I'm a bit uncomfortable reading this. Like, I'm like...
Guys. Because, like, horny just on every single page, not even just when the smut. So then the smut has really good payoff.
And emotionally horny as well.
We said this, emotionally horny. We did say this in one of the Q wrap-ups. Such creative dry humping. The threesome. Oh.
It's not even a real threesome.
The near threesome.
The near threesome. I was like, are we about to see a threesome? Casey, you're killing me.
Casey, do another book now, please.
Oh, but make it good.
Make it good.
Guys,
we said we weren't going to do 2 parts. But guess what? We've recorded for 2.5 hours.
It's going to be 2 parts.
It's going to be a 2 parts.
So yeah, that was all the cues and that was the Storygraph stats. And then next episode next week is going to be the top 10. So yeah, you got to wait a week, but it's going to be worth it.
But look, lucky you, more of us.
Don't forget to follow us and everything.
Oh yeah.
And here's the 2025.
Here's the 2025. Lovely. Cheers. Bye.
See you next week.